So this is an opinion that's just been bubbling around in my head a long time, but I'm a big advocate for when people design characters with animal ears or humanoid characters with animal ears that they should have 4 ears rather than two. It's the debate if you're not familiar with just whether like if you're going to put like cat ears or dog ears or something on a humanoid character, whether they should still have human ears or not. And and the reason why such a big fan of 4 ears is biological, because different shapes of ears have different strengths or functions in the animal kingdom. So human ears are really good for distinguishing sounds. The shape of our ears is a big reason why we are able to have a really sophisticated language, because between our brains and our ears, we're able to distinguish between different sounds with a great level of precision. We can distinguish between the letter A, like the five different variants of the letter A and five different variants of like the letter I, and we can like have these very complicated sounds and interpret with a great degree of accuracy which string of sounds we actually heard. And that is essential for language. If you don't have refined hearing, which is facilitated by our ear shape, we don't have language. And if you designed a character without human ears, there's a very real chance that they would have deficient hearing. And that would actually also be an interesting way to take it, is you have like a species without human ears that has worse hearing than their human counterparts or something like that. At least worse hearing with respect to language. Other shapes of ears are better at different tasks, like cat ears, dog ears, and things like that. Different animals just have different needs from their ears from hearing, and their ears generally reflect different strengths or weaknesses based on their shape. So some ears are going to be better at doing tasks like depth perception or locating the source of a sound, hearing from a distance, or picking up a quiet sound. And if you have a character who has 4 ears, both human ears and animal ears, it's like they're going to be able to play to those different strengths. They might be able to, they might use their human ears primarily for understanding sound, for understanding communication and speech, and then use, say, cat ears for determining, for determining the location of a sound. Or if you have different types of ears for picking up low sounds, sounds that humans can't hear or that are really quiet, things like that. And it's like if you spend time with animals, it's like it is very clear that it's like they're experiencing sound differently than we are. So if somebody had 4 ears, they would be able to experience both domains of sound. Whereas if you have a character that only has animal ears and lacks human ears, they're actually experiencing a limited domain of sound, and they would not be able to experience things that you and I can experience because of the shape of our ears. Also, as like a less significant thing, but the positioning of ears also depends on how good you are at locating sounds positionally. Because our ears are on a flat plane to each other, they're better. Having 2 ears like that makes it easier to pick up sounds, pick up the location of sounds horizontally, left and right, so to speak. Because we have ears on both sides of our heads, it's easier to determine whether a sound is coming from our left, from our right, so on, stereo sound, all that stuff. If you have 4 ears, then you also get that benefit vertically. So if you had a 4 ear setup, like ears on the top of your head and ears on the side, or something like that, then you'd also be able to locate sound much better, up versus down. Just in the way that we're pretty good at determining whether sound is coming from our left or our right or in front of us or behind us. So you'd get an extra access of sound location through having a 4 ear setup. So that's kind of why, like, in general, I think from a biological perspective, 4 ears makes more sense and is also more interesting because you can get into like interesting biological discussions of like how like different humanoids with very similar characteristics, but just like a difference in ears, are going to actually have advantages and disadvantages. Because and like getting into the disadvantages of having 4 ears, it's like it would be probably like you'd need a higher metabolism. It's like if you have more ears and are processing more information, your brain's running harder to interpret more sounds, more sound data than if you only have 2 sets of ears. So you probably need to eat more. That would probably be the main downside, is just like having higher energy costs associated with a more complex hearing system. And yeah, so, but yeah, either way, like regardless of the choice, there are interesting things to discuss. I lean more towards the 4 years for the reasons I've stated. But it's like you could have very interesting stories limited to the 2 year setup. And I guess the most interesting thing would be is to just choose one or the other, and then like actually discuss the implications of that, have that actually play out and how a character works, giving a character advantages or disadvantages based on whatever choice you like. And if you do prefer 2 years, it's like you can make very interesting stories, building off of the limitations of that. So yeah, 4 years, 2 years, those are my thoughts. Thank you and take care.